These are all...
What's up? Welcome to my house. Now, I promised that I would show you guys the behind the scenes of how I shoot home and Hatfield products. And I just so happen to have the new pen deck 7 pens right here. So I want to show you guys a behind the scenes of how I shoot products and kind of give you guys a insight to my whole thought process and my weird mind that I have. So we're going to start. Let's figure out what we're going to shoot. I'm going to go on the other side. All right, POV Hussein cam. So we have the pen deck right here. Now, I've already kind of set up a little bit of what we're gonna be doing, but I wanna run you guys through kind of my thought process because I think it's kind of interesting. So first off, I have to figure out what we're gonna shoot. Okay, so we're obviously doing the pen deck. So, you know, first things first is what I'll do is I will look at the actual product itself. So we have this beautiful case that's very modern. It's very sleek. It's very luxury. And so I want to make sure that I have some place that complements that when I'm taking the photograph, right? Usually when I take photos of home and Hatfield products, I like to use this table here. That's kind of, I personally really like this table. I think it adds a lot of cool detail, but I don't want to do that because this table has a lot of texture. So also it's messy as crap, so ignore that. So you're getting a little tour around my house. I'm gonna look around my house also. I'm planning a wedding, it's messy. Also, I'm looking at a bunch of different surfaces, right? So I have this table here, like this table here that has this type of surface. I'm like, that could work, but I think that's too close to the wood. We have this wooden surface right here of the countertop. Again, I think it could work, but it looks like a kitchen countertop or a cutting board. So I'm gonna pass on that. You know, I could shoot on the pool table, obviously, you know, but there's a huge puzzle because Taylor likes puzzles, so we're not gonna do that. So I'm just looking around and I happen to have this record player stand that I actually bought for Home and Hatfield products, funny enough. But the reason why I like this is because the wood is super nice. It's really high quality and it looks high quality. And also the whole design of everything, like it's a really nice, simple luxury stand that I really do like. And that's why I chose this surface. Next, I want to talk about background. So obviously we have to have a background. Now, this is the background I chose. The reason why I did this because I think it is kind of like a fine art background. I wanted something that had some depth to it so that it's not just like shooting into the void. So I have these photos. I have 2 cameras, a watch and a gun, but luckily that one is not going to be in it. So I have the camera and the watch. And I think that actually goes perfectly because Home and Hatfield did start with watch decks. So that kind of works out. Now we're going to talk about set dressing. I mean, you guys know this, I'm huge in set dressing. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to use to tell the story, right? So what is this product? This is a pen deck, right? So this is a product that holds pens and stationery and stuff like that, right? As you can see, I have it loaded out with a bunch of pens. Obviously we have the nice pens on top, but I don't want to just take photos of the pens itself because that's boring. You know, I want to make it a lifestyle photo. Okay, so as you guys know, photos, like product photos are obviously great as product photos, but the point of a product photo is to show what the product can be used for. That's where lifestyle photography gets in. You're adding the life and the style into the product photos. That's what we're gonna do here. So I don't wanna just have the pen deck. I want to make sure that I have things that complement the pens themselves. So we're talking stationery, we're talking writing, we're talking actual almost literature or academia, stuff like that, that almost go with the analog form of writing. So as you can tell, this is on a vinyl thing. I have records below it. That's analog compared to obviously, you know, Spotify or a speaker, right? I have this Edison bulb, which I actually really like because it brings back a time where, you know, Edison bulbs are really famous. Obviously, I love Edison bulbs, you know this, but it adds a sense of nostalgia in a sense. Plus, Edison bulbs give off a really nice contrasting color to the light that I have right here, which is the key light. Then I obviously have a notebook. I have a quill because that also gives into the writing aesthetic, but I feel like there's other things that I could also add. So we're gonna take a look at all the props I have to kind of spice it up. Come with me. All right, welcome to the office. Now, I will say it is dark in here, it is moody, and that's why I like it. But we are gonna basically go through the office and find things that will help tell our story. So obviously a camera is nothing to tell our story. Nothing really on this deck is really gonna tell the story. Maybe some of these pens, but I already have these pens over there, so I think we're good. We can go over here to the bar cart or the speaker, but we're gonna do something with that later. Now we're gonna go to the wall of fun things. All right, so now we have the wall of fun. So this is all of the fun things that I have, or props or collections that I have. Now, going through this, I want to make sure that I find something that will work to tell the story. Obviously, you know, I could use a deck of cards to add a set dress. I could use, you know, knives or EDC, stuff like that. Obviously we have watches, Pete's Pirate Life, a lot of Pete's Pirate Life. I don't think any of this is really going to be able to tell the story that I want to be telling. Typically, I will go through this shelf and find things that I really like that will help tell a story. So I actually did kind of lie a little bit. I did grab one thing, and that would be my watch. Now, the reason why I'm choosing to grab this watch is because, again, this is a luxury product. We want to convey the luxury. So by adding something like a watch on my wrist when I'm going to reach for a pen adds a certain amount of luxury to the viewer's eyes. This could be subconscious, most likely it is, but it still adds that level that a lot of people will hopefully look beyond, but still it'll subconsciously tell them this is a nice product. I am constantly looking at angles. I'm looking at angles to see where the light hits better, what is gonna help the product the best, what camera angles. I'm looking at the lines of the product, stuff like that, because that will determine how I set up the product. Now, there are a couple more things I wanna do with set dressing, and then we'll start taking photos. All right, next up, we obviously have whiskey or prop whiskey. Now, as you can see, I have a lot of glasses in my hand because, again, this goes into set dressing. So first off, I have a bottle of Woodford Reserve that is an empty bottle, but this is actually a bottle filled with water and vanilla extract because it gives you that nice whiskey look. Now, I don't want to use this bottle in the photos because there are, I don't know if you can tell, but there are fingerprints on this bottle, and I don't think that it would look good in the photo, but possibly in the background. We will wait. Now, the second thing is obviously to choose a glass. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, this is a lot for one photo, but it makes all the difference. Let's take a look at some of the glass options we have. Obviously we have a pool lowball glass. I personally think that this has a little bit too much detail in the diamond pattern, so I'm gonna say no to this. But it is a nice glass and I have used it a lot. We have another glass that I love to use. This has a very subtle pattern. This is a possibility. I also like this glass because it again is very subtle, but you know, it doesn't have a lot going on. And then we have two more. We have a really plain one and then a kind of more fancy one. Now, I'm very careful about using this one because this one almost looks too fancy, so I don't want it to seem like I got it for very cheap. That being said, this was really cheap, but it doesn't look like that. But I have to be careful. So I'm gonna go with the regular plain one because this glass is just super simple. It'll be able to do the work, but also gives off a very nice, clean, almost pristine vibe, which is perfect for what we're shooting. This is the glass we're gonna use. Okay, so we have the pen deck here. We have a notebook and we also have our whiskey. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated with set dressing and then also finding the angles. I'm gonna go handheld real quick. All right, so we have our setup. Now, this is what I'm originally going to be setting up, but I wanna kind of run you through why I set it up like this. So, we have our pen deck nice front and centered, and I think having a centered product really lends to the power of the product. Now, I do want this deck to be nice and distanced from the background so that I can create depth in the camera. Now, as for everything else, we have a light on the side because I feel like that will work very well with how this is working. I am going to move this over to this side, and I'm gonna take a coaster, put it over here. The reason why I wanna do that is because it just adds, I want those like little other things to be in the background. I don't wanna take them and disturb the actual focus of the product. So I'm thinking if I have a notebook right here and I almost have like quill in the background with the ink over there, then we have this little like stamp thing that I I think might be kind of interesting to put. Something like that, it would look better than having it be closer to the pen deck, because we don't want to focus on the quill, we want to focus on the pens. Now that we have it all straight, I want to make sure that the angles are nice. So, you know, I'm checking to make sure the angles are straight, and then we're going to be looking at how the product hits the light. This is another whole topic. This is a whole nother topic in and of itself, because we want to light the product. Now we have this big, huge light behind us, and this is what we're going to use to light the product, because that will make it that the light that hits the product is really nice and diffused, and it looks really clean and it doesn't look harsh. But I don't want the light to be perfectly on the product like spotlight. I want it to be a little bit to the side, because what that will do is give it a little bit more dimension, and also having a 45-degree angled light looks a ton better for photos. So we're going to move that, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Oh, and another fun little thing, I'm gonna turn off these external lights, because now we have just this main light lighting the product. So now that we have the light lighting the product, we're gonna finish up set dressing, and then we're gonna start taking photos. We're almost done, we're almost about to take photos. I told you, there's a lot that goes into this, but we have a couple things that we need to do first. Now, obviously we have a lot of pens to go through, but the question is, which ones do we want to showcase? Let me just get a chair real quick. Whoa. Now we're going to go on to what pens we want to showcase. Now, obviously we have a variety of really nice pens. Again, what do we want to really stand out? So in this, I put a lot of other pens, whether it's like, so in the bottom over here, I have a lot of other pens, like, you know, I have this Uniball, like regular pen. You know, I have some other Sharpie-esque pens, some zebra pens, some cheap bolt action pens, and then obviously some smaller ones like the CRKT pen and the Pete's Pirate Life pen. The reason I'm putting them there is because because one, they don't fit up here, but then two, I don't want to put the normal pens down here, because again, this is a luxury product. We're showing off pens, people that collect pens, so we want to make sure that we are sticking to that rule. Up top, what I decided to do was I decided to take the nicest pens that I own and put them and showcase them, because that's obviously what we would do when we have this product at home. So, you know, I have the Big Idea Designs pen right there that fits perfectly right here. I have another fountain pen, CRKT, obviously Pete's Pirate Life right in the middle, because I really like that pen. I have this other nice fountain pen, this beautiful bronze pen. This one is a little tough, so just almost kind of doesn't fit, but it's good enough for a photo, so we're gonna work with it. Now that we have our pens set up, we're gonna start taking photos. So again, I'm gonna line this up, make sure that it looks good. If you guys happen to have any spray, make sure you spray off the product, because you don't want any dust or lint or any of that stuff on the product. And then we are going to start taking photos. Whoa! We're gonna be taking a couple of different photos, and my best friend when it comes to taking photos with this camera, but a trigger remote and then a tripod, because I need to be in the photos. I need to be the person interacting with the product so that you can show the lifestyle with the photos. In order to do that, I can't be taking the photos, so what I have is this little remote thing that syncs up to my camera so that every time I click it, it takes a photo. As for cameras, I'm using the R5, and I have a 50mm lens 1.2 because I love the compression a 50mm gives, and it also makes the products look really nice and natural. I'm not gonna be shooting it at 1.2 because that's gonna give it a very shallow depth of field, and I want more of the product in focus, so I'm gonna be shooting around 2.8 around there, and I will show you how I do that right now. But first, I have to move you again. Lighting up our product, and that means I'm not lit, but that's okay because you're not looking at me, you're looking at the product. And then we're gonna move this chair out of the way. Now it's all about finding the angles. So, have this light the product. I'm gonna stick the camera on the tripod. I wanna get a 45-degree angle going on the opposite side of where the light is hitting, because typically when you're doing interviews and stuff like that, this is kind of a little hack. If you take photos on the shadow side of a product or a person or something like that, it looks better. I don't know why, ask movie directors, they do it all the time. That's why I'm doing it. So, we're gonna do that. Camera on this tripod right here. Don't know if you can see that. All right, once I have my settings all dialed in, this is where I interact with the photo. So I'm gonna pick up a pen as if I'm picking it up out of the pen deck or I'm putting it in the pen deck. and just start taking photos. Now, obviously we want to do this in ways that interact with the product as much as possible. So, keep the drawer open. We can do a shot of me opening the drawer. We can even have a photo of me opening this. Those are looking pretty good. So I'm gonna basically go around, take a bunch of photos, and show you guys how crazy I look when I take photos, and then I will show you the editing process. So hold on. All right, we are at the desk and we are going to start editing. Now, the reason why I want to show you the editing process because it all kind of lends into the same thing of what story are we trying to tell. I'm not going to show you every single photo because that's going to take forever. I don't want to boil the pants off you because I'm pretty sure I already did that. I do think it is an important part of the storytelling process, so that's why I'm going to show you. And plus, it's really fun. So we have a lot of photos to go over, and obviously, as we can see, we're looking at some of these photos. We're seeing kind of the difference and like the difference in the angles, stuff like that, yada, yada, yada. But what I want to show you is the hero shot, because I think that the hero shot is honestly, it's what everyone comes to look for. So we're going to go with one that I like, which let's go with this one. All right. Actually, we're not going to go with that one because there's a pen on the ground. We're going to find a different one. Yeah, I like that one. Okay, now we're going to start editing. Now, obviously, there's a lot of editing jargon that kind of goes on with all of this. And, I don't want to... What my thought process is when editing these photos. I want to make sure that all the colors look natural. I want to make sure that I'm not going crazy with any of the colors. I'm not making anything super intense or super like unrealistic. I do want to make sure that I keep everything subtle, but still I want to be able to enhance this photo because that is the overall point of why we're doing this. The main point is I want to also keep in mind like my lines should be straight. Now I'm actually pretty happy with this because I think I got my lines really straight in camera. I am gonna crop it because I don't need those tennis rackets in there and I don't need a whole lot of my hand in there, but I want to make sure that when I do crop it, it is centered in the photo. So right there, that looks pretty good. Now this is not the last step because I actually am going to, now we're gonna start making some masks. And because what I'm doing is I'm trying to really make the eye go towards the subject of the photo. Now the subject is not my hand. So I don't want it to be the most bright thing there is. The subject is actually, obviously, the pen deck. So what we're going to be doing is basically making gradients so that we can highlight the actual pen deck itself and make it pop off the screen. Now, just by doing that, just by adding a radial gradient and bringing up the exposure ever so slightly, we are able to see the pen deck for what it is, and that is this luxury product. Now, when you look at this, you're automatically taken away from my hand and you're brought into the photo. Now we have the sides of the photos darker, adding that vignette so that your eyes are instantly dragged to the point of the photo. And also, as you can see, my hand is out of focus, which is good because the pen deck is in focus. That's what I want in focus. Luckily, we have that because I don't want my hand to be distracting from the photo. And right there, I think that is a great hero shot. I'm gonna just edit a couple more and then I will show you guys and that'll be the video. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed watching the process of how I edit these photos. I know you guys wanted to see this, so I wanted to make this video and kind of give you a deep dive into the creative process of what kind of goes beyond the actual photo itself. I hope this actually was able to help you guys see the thought process into crafting some of these photos. Anyways, thank you so much. Anyways, I'll see you all later.